Hey guys, Jay here. Hope you guys are having a wonderful holiday season. Today we're going to be talking about the top speakers for 2024. So without further ado, let's get rocking. So mainly I have 3 different speakers that I personally found to be exceptional this year. And if you were wondering what kind of speakers that I prefer at each kind of price range, well, that's all available for you on our Discord page. You can check out that in real time if you're a Patreon. However, I've chosen 3 speakers that I personally found to be a standout and something that I personally use on a daily basis that I find to be exceptional even among this list. So let's start off with the best bang for your buck. And when I say best bang for your buck, I don't necessarily mean the cheapest speaker that you can get for the money, but the most performance that I personally think will bring you the most for your money, including build quality, sound quality, and the overall performance of the loudspeaker. So with that in mind, the speaker that I will be choosing for this category would be the Orendo 1723 THX S monitor. Now this loudspeaker comes at around $2,000 and is probably one of the best, if not the best loudspeaker I've heard at this price point, along with the famous Bucard S400 Mark II that I love so much and still have to this day. The main difference between the Bucard S400 Mark II and the Orendo 1723 THX S monitor is that the S monitor is slightly less in price and is also more punchy and cleaner in the mid-range as well. Even though it doesn't have the highest sensitivity like a single driver or a horn loudspeaker, it has reasonable sensitivity to where I could drive it with tube amplifiers, and also it just worked with a variety of different AV receivers and amplifiers I've tested with this loudspeaker. I also found that it's an absolute plus that this loudspeaker sounds really good while also having incredible measured performance. And for those that do know the Orendo brand, you know that they make their cabinets out of HDF, which is seen in much higher price category speakers, and the build quality and the finishing is just absolutely phenomenal, high quality build craftsmanship. And it just makes me feel like I'm getting a lot of performance and build quality for the money. Now, the thing that I don't like about this loudspeaker is that it doesn't extend as low as their tower offerings, which means that if you want that full extension in the bass, you might want to add some subwoofers. Unless, of course, you want to save up a little bit more to go with the 1723 THX tower speakers that I gave the award to last year. However, keep in mind, and I did say this in my review as well, that the 1723S monitor seems to have actually a better sound staging than the tower offering, and therefore I personally preferred it with the subwoofer and the monitor versus the tower alone. And another thing that I don't quite like about this loudspeaker is the fact that it's an MTM design, which means that if you're in a home theater setting where you're sitting really up high, above the tweeter level, or you're not exactly within the tweeter height and you move a little bit up in the listening position and so on, because it's an MTM design, you're gonna get those vertical off-axis dips, and that's just the nature of an MTM design. So that's just something that I don't quite like about this loudspeaker if I have to be really nitpicky. Now lastly, if you were wondering why I chose the S monitor instead of the monitor, the S monitor is just a slimmer and smaller version of the monitor, but it's actually not that small at all. The monitor is a bigger loudspeaker, but it's slightly more expensive, but not by much. So it's kind of weird in that kind of lineup they have. But when I measured the loudspeaker, the S monitor measured better and it sounded more neutral and natural to me without a little bit of that brightness bump on the monitor itself. And the monitor itself does have a little bit more kind of mid-bass exaggeration, but both of these speakers do respond extremely well to EQ. So I personally prefer to have the S monitor since I'm gonna add a subwoofer anyways and just EQ to however I like it in my room. And I personally found that to be better suited for my taste and application, and just felt like the S monitor is an overall more flexible loudspeaker out of the box. Now the next category is going to be a price no object category, meaning that there is no price accounted for. It's just based on pure performance and musical enjoyment to me. And that is the Platimon monoacoustic loudspeakers. And it's really no surprise this speaker has been winning this award for the last 2 years. And this year, I just failed to find another loudspeaker that I'm so addicted to. And I think that's the really key word here when I talk about the Platimon from monoacoustic. It's addictive. It has a sense of transparency that I keep coming back to, and it has, it's a very transparent loudspeaker, but it's not clinical and dry sounding, and has nice airiness, and has a little bit of warmth in that mid-bass region that I particularly really love about this loudspeaker. Married to a 2 preamplifier and in the right system, this speaker has a balance that I'm just dying for. The transparency, the airiness, the bass textures, everything about this loudspeaker I really dig, and I've been digging for the last 2 years or so, a little bit less than that, but absolutely great loudspeaker. Now it's pretty on the expensive side at $6,000 per pair and $8,000 including the matching stands, but I really genuinely love this loudspeaker so much that I just can't get rid of it. So there's that. And recently I also got in their VC2 module, which has a super tweeter and also a 10-inch bass driver, and it's a very interesting design. It allows you for about like 12 different settings. It has a lot of different settings for different tunings, and I've tried a few of them and I'm really digging what I'm hearing. Now, I'm not really particularly a fan of this look of the bass module, but I am really loving the sound. So I'll experiment more with that and let you guys know what I think in the future reviews. So this year I have one more award. Usually I have 2 awards, one best bang for your buck and one price no object. But this year I thought I would give this loudspeaker a award instead of, a different category award, instead of putting it in the price no object runner up or the best bang for your buck, because this loudspeaker really fits into both categories, but you'll see what I mean. So the speaker itself is the Arendo 1528 tower loudspeakers. And if you saw my review, this loudspeaker is absolutely phenomenal for the money. Incredible, big, full-sized, incredibly big loudspeaker for about $9,500 US. And you might be thinking, how does that fit into the best bang for your buck category? But if you remember, I said that best bang for your buck means that it's what you're getting for the money. Well, tell me a speaker that you can get this build quality made out of HDF once again, with acoustic lenses and just a whole big construction of this loudspeaker with multiple bracing and quality components in the crossover, just quality overall in the binding post, and just oozing out quality. For $9,500, it's really hard in the high-end audio market to get this type of quality and this sheer size. And the number of drivers, quality drivers. And also the measured performance measures up perfectly. This loudspeaker measures very well and is an exceptional loudspeaker for those that have large spaces to accommodate this loudspeaker. And that's the thing. It's hard for me to put this in any kind of category because the big kind of entry is that you need the space. And that's something that I think a lot of people kind of, went over their heads in my review. That's a negative, and that's actually a pretty big negative. You need the space, and not just because this is a big loudspeaker with tremendous bass, but because this loudspeaker has that curvature in the front baffle that aligns the drivers for the listening position. So this means that you have to be sitting further away from the loudspeaker to get the benefit of that time alignment with the drivers. And if I sit closer than the suggested, distance, which I believe was about 3 meters, 2.5 meters minimum. If I sit closer than that, what I ended up getting was a little bit more brighter presentation around that 1 to 3 kilohertz region, and that wasn't pleasant. So it's important that you sit further away from this loudspeaker, and setup is pretty paramount in terms of the room size as well as the sitting position to get the best out of this loudspeaker. And of course, in my room, I did everything I can to sit as far away as possible at about just above 2.5 meters, which was the minimum. And I did get a sense of this loudspeaker, but I can just imagine how better it will sound in a much bigger room. In fact, one of my friends, Digital Don from Audiophile, he has set up this loudspeaker in a big theater room, and he's absolutely digging this loudspeaker, and I can't wait to hear it when I go to Florida this year. Next year. Not this year is not over yet. And so the award that I'm gonna give this loudspeaker is really the disruptor of the ear, quite literally, this speaker is something that I really haven't seen in this kind of price category or elsewhere. You know, I've sold a lot of loudspeakers when I used to work at the retail store, saw many speakers in this price category, including from Solons Faber, you know, Wilson Audio, you know, Focal, you name it, Magical, any name brands. And I really have not seen a loudspeaker this sheer size, this sheer amount of air movement and quality and performance at this price point, period. So it's really, I find, a disruptor, and also the fact that they're doing a direct-to-consumer model, meaning they ship directly to you instead of going through a distributor or a dealer to save the cost for you, with 60-day risk-free return policy. Absolutely absurd. And I think that deserves this title or award more than any other loudspeaker that I can think of. So, yep, that's the new award, and I'm not sure if any other speaker will get this award in the future, but I thought this speaker deserved a special award, and so, yeah, Disruptor of the Year. Now, I have not yet reviewed the bookshelf speaker yet, but I've been listening to it, and the bookshelf 1528 is an absolute monster in my room. I absolutely dig it. And a lot of you guys been asking me, you know, if you love the 1528 tower so much, why didn't you buy it? And there's two reasons for that. One is that they're big, and two is that my room cannot have this loudspeaker because I can't move them around by myself, and I have to switch speakers all the time. This loudspeaker is just too big for my room and for me to enjoy it on a constant basis without moving stuff in my room to get that distance. So if I were in a bigger house, in a bigger listening space, absolutely, without a doubt, I would purchase this loudspeaker. But right now, I'm really satisfied with the 1528 bookshelves. These are absolutely monsters in my room, and I cannot wait to review and share with you guys about this crazy loudspeaker. And even the bookshelf loudspeaker, by the way, is sheer big. Like, this is a bookshelf speaker that is quite large. Like, at this price point, I have some other speakers that I'm comparing to right now to give you guys a comparison at this price point, but no other loudspeaker is this big at this price point, which already gives it a good advantage. And it's not like it's big using cheap materials, it's big using HDF. So, you know, yeah. And if I would have reviewed this loudspeaker this year, without a doubt, this speaker would have won an award. Like, this speaker is bazookas in terms of its performance, build quality, just like the tower speakers. But anyways, I'll keep that as a teaser for next year. So that's pretty much it from me in terms of speakers. Those are my top choices this year in terms of speakers. And for gear, really, I haven't reviewed enough gear this year to give an award, you know, best of the year award. And I don't want to just give out awards just to give out awards. So instead, at the beginning of the year, so in January, first week of January or something like that, I'll do a system tour where I talk about my reference pieces and why I have them as reference pieces and what exactly they're contributing to my system. And these are all pieces that I know very well or have experimented for at least a few months and think that I'm gonna have in my system. And we'll go over all that in that video so that you can understand why I have the things that I do instead of, you know, recommending you some gear that I actually don't own. So yeah, putting money where my mouth is basically, and you'll be able to see my reference system in early January. So make sure to subscribe and click the like on this video if it was entertaining and helpful, and hope you guys all have a fantastic remainder of the year and a wonderful holiday season, and Happy New Year's. All the best to you, and see you guys all in the new year. Until next time.